Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live, we're in the studio, so get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. Going to be talking about the manager, Ruben Amorim. Another interview. Is he doing too many interviews? We'll be getting into all that. Plus, we'll have all the latest transfer links too. So hit that like button, please, people. Good to see there's already a load of you in the chat. Make sure all of you in the chat are hitting that like button. Good to see some of the usual faces as well. Right, let's talk. There's a little bit of a weird one. We'll start off with this little weird story. I think this is from Gimme Sport. I've seen it in the Mail as well. This is like, if United win the Europa League, we're not having a parade, right? They're gonna have a barbecue at Carrington. Now, at first, this seems like, oh, more cuts. Oh, we're not even having a parade. Oh, it's a disgrace. Oh, I'm Ineos out, Ratcliffe. But let's have it right. I'm going to be honest. I don't want Manchester United to have a parade for winning the Europa League. I don't want Manchester United to have a parade when we finish 17th or 16th or wherever we're going to end up. Yeah? Yes, we've won a trophy. Yes, we're in the Champions League. But we're Manchester United. Yeah? No disrespect, but we're not Newcastle. We don't have a parade for every trophy we win. We're not having a parade, and we shouldn't have a parade for the Europa League. That's my take on it. That's my thoughts. So I'm not that bothered that we're not having a parade, to be honest with you, because I think that'd look a little bit cringe, and I don't even know whether we get the crowds we usually get when we have parades, because a lot of people might be like, is this what we're doing? We're having parades for Europa League when we're finished in the bottom half of the table? Have some shame. Let me know what you think. Are you like, Jay, come on, it's an excuse for let's have a party. I get that, but for me, I'm still fuming, to be honest with you, that we didn't have a parade in 2008. That is why I will never have any love for Rangers, but that's a different story altogether. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. They're going to have a bit of a celebratory barbecue or whatever with the players. Fine, I understand that. I don't think we're quite at the level yet where we need to start having parades for every trophy we win. We used to do it back in the day. I remember when I was a little kid. I think one of the first parades I went to was in the 80s, 85 maybe, I want to say, for winning the FA Cup. So I get it. I get you have parades when you win trophies, but I just don't think Manchester United, a club the size and stature of Manchester United, even though it's not been exactly our most triumphant era, should be having parades for the Europa League. And I think it's just one of those where it makes a good headline, but when you scratch beneath the surface, it kind of makes sense. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Brian Casey, 100% Jay. Parades for winning one trophy is for the small clubs. Jay, Newcastle don't. Sorry, this is LIR says, Newcastle don't just parade trophies. They paraded making a final just 2 decades ago. Remember that? Wasn't that the 99 final in the FA Cup? JB says, morning, Jay. We need fly under the radar on this one a bit. I agree, no parade. Yeah, it just feels a little bit cringe. I hate the celebration, please. There's nothing wrong with celebrating wins, victories, trophy wins. I get all that. I don't understand why. I was doing a thing on the radio yesterday, right? And it made me laugh because it was for United and City fans, and you had loads of City fans ringing in complaining that Southampton had been buzzing with the 0-0 against City, because they've been buzzing because it meant that they no longer had the lowest points tally in Premier League history. And all these City fans were ringing up going, oh, I can't believe they shut up shop, and I can't believe they were celebrating and they were like they'd won something. And I think, I get they were relieved. I get the players were happy and they celebrated, because it wasn't even celebrating, it was more relief, because now they've now lost that moniker, that stigma of being the worst ever Premier League team. You don't want that, do you? So I get it. I understand that. I understand when teams celebrating finishing 4th and getting into the Champions League. I get that. I know people have mocked it and they've took the mick out of Spurs, they've took the mick out of Arsenal when they've done it. But I understand celebrating wins. I understand it. I get why Newcastle went ballistic after winning the Carabao Cup. Quite ironic that loads of people gave us stick for celebrating the Carabao Cup, but everyone loves it when Newcastle do it, but it's different levels. I understand that they've not won a trophy since 1473, so I get it. Like, they've won a trophy the first time in ages. They want to celebrate it. I understand all that. I just don't think Manchester United, who've won 13 Premier League titles, who've won 20 championships, or 20 titles, if you will, 3 Champions Leagues, who've won countless FA Cups, countless League Cups, who have won the European Cup Winners' Cup, the greatest achievement in the history of football. Let's not forget. There it is. Sorry, get it right. Have won the Europa League. I don't think we should be having a parade for every single trophy we win. That's my take on it. You may disagree. Let's talk about Ruben Amorim and the media. So Scott Saunders has quote tweeted this, right? There's an interview here with Sky Sports News. It's Ruben Amorim sitting down. He says, I'm really embarrassed that in 26 games we have won 6. Ruben Amorim on Manchester United season since he took over as manager. So Scott's saying, I have never seen a man subjected to so many sit-down interviews in a 6-month time period. It is absolutely insane. What are United doing? And I thought we could have a little bit of a chat about this. What do you make of it? Because it does feel to me like Ruben Amorim does a lot of sit-down interviews. Now I get pre-match press conferences. Every single manager does that. That isn't anything special. That isn't Ruben Amorim having to do more than anyone else. Before a Premier League game, you do a press conference. Before a Europa game or a Champions League game, depending on what competition you're in Europe, you do a press conference. That's standard. That happens. Post-match, you do an interview or you do a press conference, don't you? I get that. Also at Manchester United, we have MUTV. I think it's obligated that the manager does interviews for MUTV. That's part of like the club. They say that to a manager when he arrives. I remember David Moyes got really annoyed from what I was hearing when he came to United and he found out, it's like he didn't read his contract. He found out he had to do interviews with MUTV basically after every game. And if you remember, the last one he ever did as United manager, the last interview, I think was for MUTV in basically the corridor at Goodison Park, being interviewed after the defeat there at Everton, which turned out to be his final game as Manchester United manager. So I understand that there are certain obligations that come with being a Manchester United manager, certain obligations that come with just being a Premier League manager, and certain obligations when it comes to interviews that come with being a manager at a club that are competing in Europe. However, the amount of sit-down interviews my man does is ridiculous. That's what I think anyway. It does seem excessive. And I was trying to look into this, right? And there's varying reports and varying, like, I've been going through different ones and trying to sort of source them this morning. I've not had loads of time, I'm not making excuses. But he did one in November, I think 15, November the 15th, sorry, when he first arrived. And it was a sit-down interview. And then there was talk not long after that, there was too many interviews because he'd come in, he'd done interview after interview after interview. And I think he said at one point, there's a little bit too many interviews here, even for a new manager coming into Manchester United. Bit excessive, something obviously he wasn't used to at Sporting. Then I think there was another sit-down in-depth interview on March the 9th, another sit-down interview a week later, in beginning of April, another exclusive sit-down interview. Then again, a following week, I think there was another interview, a sit-down interview. Then 2 weeks later, another full sit-down interview with Sky. Then, I think, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it must be yesterday, another sit-down interview with Sky. I mean, there's a lot there. How many times have we seen other managers doing these in-depth interviews as well? I know managers do them, but how many times have you seen a manager sitting down? I don't mean the press conferences, I mean sitting down doing an in-depth interview. And I'm just curious as to why that keeps happening. What's going on? Does he want to do these? Is he saying, like, put me forward for these? Surely he can't be obligated to do that many interviews. It's a bit of a surprise to me if he is, because I've never known a manager have to sort of be required to do that many interviews. It does feel like he's doing more than we saw from Erik ten Hag, more than we used to see from Louis van Gaal, more than we used to see from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, more than we saw from David Moyes, certainly more than we saw from Alex Ferguson. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, I like Ruben Amorim. I like his honesty. I like the fact that he's open with the media. I think he has a decent relationship with the media, and I think that could help him in some respects. But you don't want it to be overkill. You don't want it to be a point where he's just doing these interviews constantly and fielding the same questions. A lot of these questions have got a negative slant. We're not saying to him, or the media aren't saying to him, well done, this is a fantastic achievement. So Manchester United sat 16th in the table, having won 6 games out of 26, whatever it is. I'm not saying well done to Manchester United, losing, 17 games or whatever. I think 13 of them in the Premier League happening under Ruben Amorim. They're quite negative, these interviews. Now, he might be quite sort of open and even jovial at times and be quite a positive guy, but I just feel like it's a little bit much. Let me know what you think. I want to hear what you guys think. Am I being a bit sort of too protective, if you will? Dan United 94 says, Jay, when we hit 800,000 subscribers, can we have a live recital of Danny Will Come Good as a throwback to celebrate? Good knowledge there, Dan United 94. That's an old school. I did a poem called Danny Will Come Good, and then I did it on an old podcast I used to be on called Red Mancunian, and then the Daily Mail picked up on it and ran it as a proper story. Like United fan pens poems to Danny Welbeck. It's all very bizarre. Akash K says, morning Jay, United stinks of a PR club nowadays, not a football club. Great news on another protest incoming for the Villa game. Yes, we mentioned this yesterday on our socials. There is a protest ahead of the Villa game, I believe. We'll try and we can get our tweet from yesterday and we'll put a post up about that, or we'll put that up in a minute. Yeah, there is another protest. Perhaps the club are getting a fee for the sit-downs and Ineos have asked him to do them, says Joey Jobo. Maybe that is the case. Maybe there is sort of, I don't know. It just seems it seems like a lot, doesn't it? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Give me your opinion on it. Because I just feel that every time I go on Sky, or every time I go on social media, it feels like there's just this constant stream of Ruben Amorim interviews, and sometimes it makes my heart sink. There's the protest that's planned this week, not this weekend, is it? It's the following weekend. Yeah, it's going to be after the Europa League. We've got Chelsea on Friday, then we've got the Europa League next week, and I think Villa is our final game. So you can see there's going to be a protest for the final game. Get down there, take part if you can. If you can't get to the game, if you're not at the game, then spread the word. It's 20 years since the Glazers took over. We're still over $1 billion in debt. The club's still a bit of a shambles, innit? And we're hearing that these decisions that are being made, where it's, there's no tickets for the staff to a final, there's bonuses are being cut, there's no free dinners. This is all because the club is in a financial black hole, if you will. You can sound a little bit like Keir Starmer there, but yeah, we're in this financial black hole. We know why it's happened. We know why we're in dire straits. It isn't because people have been getting free dinners. It isn't because people have been getting free travel to cup finals, or because the stewards have been getting bonuses, or because the Christmas bonus is too excessive. It's because of the Glazers. They have bled this club dry. They have ran this club into the ground. So, yes, we should still be protesting about the Glazers and against the Glazers. And this idea that since Sir Jim Ratcliffe's come in, that everyone should focus on him, or that everyone has been focusing on him, it's nonsense. There's still a lot of anti-Glazer sentiment. I see it at the stadium all the time. I see it online all the time. People do not like the Glazers, and for good reason. And there's going to be another protest, and we should get involved. Yeah, I think that going back to the Ruben Amorim front, the Ruben Amorim interviews, it just feels like it's just a little bit too much. Steve Out says Ten Hag probably was supposed to do more, but he kept busy saying the same three things, so they just stopped asking him questions. Ten Hag wasn't, you could see Ten Hag didn't enjoy the media side of things. He wasn't someone who felt like he revelled in it. And it's weird because when we go away on pre-season, we get a little bit of access. We go to the press conference on pre-season. But what happens in pre-season is there's a lot of positivity there, because it's a new season. There's usually some signings have arrived. Obviously, the last two seasons, we'd won trophies the previous season. The season before that, the summer before that, was Ten Hag's first summer. So there was no sort of criticism or anything. It's like a new manager coming in, all exciting. So you usually see a manager in his best mood. He's excited for the future. The questions are all relatively positive. Sometimes there's a player there, sometimes there isn't. There's the media from that country you're in are there as well. So you're obviously in America, you'll have a media from like San Diego or wherever. So there's just an air of sort of, I don't know, positivity, I think is the best word. By the time you get into the season, though, and when results aren't going your way, it gets a little bit more difficult. And that's what happened with Erik ten Hag. It got very, very combative, didn't it, with Erik ten Hag and the media? It felt like there was a real sort of him against them rather than them sort of being on the same page. Very, very difficult at times to watch. Let me know what you think. Get involved. Jonathan Ball says, I thought Barada and Wilcox were supposed to be leaders. They should be out front of the centre, telling people he's their guy and to effing relax. Interesting one. Stephen Mims says, Jay, what size is that? Was going to get one. I'm usually a large, thinking a looser fit, so go up one. This is a medium for me, but I'm a bit scrawny at the minute, lost a little bit of weight. Louis Lim says, Amorim's win record is just abysmally bad. It is bad, and listen, I'm not saying that the manager shouldn't speak about what's happening at Manchester United or should pretend everything's rosy or not do any interviews. I just feel that we constantly see all these interviews, and I think sometimes they do be a little counterproductive. I get he's honest and I like the way he conducts himself in interviews. I'm not criticising his actions during interviews. It just seems like there's a lot going on at the minute. There's a lot of interviews, and I feel like sometimes you don't need that many. Plus, we're going to have some ahead of the Europa League final. Obviously, you're obligated to do that. You're going to have a press conference ahead of the Chelsea game. That's an obligation. But do we need all these sit-down interviews? Let me know what you think. Townsend85 says, are you going to Bilbao, Jay? Yes, I am. We're heading out there on the Tuesday. I think we're going to be over there. We're bringing content from over there as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. Call me deluded, I think we'll win. Amorim is another classic example of a manager coming from a lesser league being swamped by United's job. Give him time. I agree with that. I don't think anything can prepare you for being Manchester United manager when you've come from a club like Sporting. That's no disrespect to Sporting. They are one of the biggest clubs in Portugal. They are a club with, you know, a lot of history, a lot of great fan base as well, but they're not the same size or remotely the same size as Manchester United. The only manager we've had, maybe two managers we've had, to be fair, who've come in and sort of not been overawed by the size of the club, have been Jose and Louis van Gaal. Louis van Gaal managed Bayern Munich. He managed Barcelona. Those clubs are a similar size to Manchester United. They're giants of world football, just as Manchester United are. So Louis van Gaal didn't come into the job going, wow, what's going on here? This is unreal. I can't believe the scrutiny I'm getting. And he was quite honest with Louis van Gaal. I thought he was another one in the sort of Amorim vein. He was very open, very honest. He'd tell you what was on his mind. He could be quite argumentative at times if he had questions he didn't like, but he would always answer questions. And it used to annoy me that the press conferences, because I used to go to those press conferences, it used to annoy me that they weren't a bit longer, because I felt like he was someone that would be happy to talk for however long he was allowed to speak for. You look at Jose as well, he'd managed Real Madrid. Again, a club that was, you know, huge. So it wasn't like he was coming into the United job overawed by the size of it. Again, though, he could argue with the media, but there was times when Jose Mourinho could be quite jovial and you know, gregarious with the media as well. So I think those two managers were sort of mentally prepared for the size and scale of the scrutiny that comes with managing a club like Manchester United. The scrutiny at Barcelona is massive. The scrutiny at Bayern Munich, the scrutiny at Real Madrid is. You're coming into it when you're someone like Ruben Amorim, maybe as well. A similar thing with Erik ten Hag. I know Ajax is a big club, but again, I don't think it's the size of Manchester United. Probably takes a bit of getting used to, and I think that's what Amorim's probably finding. It's like, look, you know, the pressure here is unreal, the expectations unreal, the scrutiny is unreal, the amount of media you have to do is unreal, and this is maybe where the club could try and help him out a little bit, and also probably the levels of the playing staff he's inherited are unreal, not for the right reasons though, because you can see how frustrated Ruben Amorim is getting, and he's probably looking at this going, well, I came from Sporting, I was flying, my reputation was as one of the best coaches in the world, and it's in danger of going down the toilet if these results continue. Akash K says, Jay, I don't want to be a pessimist here, but I do worry for Ruben if we lose in the Europa League. I agree with that. I don't think that's being pessimistic. I don't think if we lose the Europa League final, Ruben Amorim's going to get sacked this season or after the final or whatever, but he might go into next season looking over his shoulder, and it's not a nice place to be in. Hit that like button, please, people. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the media scrutiny. Let me know what you think about the Europa League final. We are in that mode, aren't we? Ant L says, sick to death of so-called fans not understanding that a rebuild is long-term thing. Just have some damn patience. Right. It's a good point, Ant, and I understand that. It is long-term. But I don't think fans are out of order for being a little bit miffed at some of the results we're seeing. I don't think that's sort of, you know, harsh, because whether you're watching at home, whether you're in the stadium, it doesn't matter. If you're watching your team get beat every week, it's difficult to stomach. It really is, and you start questioning everything. Now, I fully believe in Ruben Amorim. My only worry is Ineos. My worry is Ineos start panicking. Ineos don't have faith. And Ruben Amorim himself has said that. He said it in his last press conference after the West Ham game. Something, you know, around the idea that he might not be the long-term manager or whatever if the results don't improve. He's not deluded. He gets it. And my worry is that if we do lose that, and there's lots of ifs and buts, but if we lose that Europa League final and we start off next season anywhere near the form we're showing this season, he could be in trouble. That's my concern. You may disagree. By all means, get involved in the chat and the comments. Also, right, I've put a little bit of a link in the chat there because I do a little bit of work for charity. No, I'm involved in a homeless charity at the Booth Centre. They're having a game on Thursday night at FC United's ground. If you can get down there, great. It's just a charity game between some people who've used the service, who've been homeless, who are homeless, and the rest of the world team. If you can't get down there, it's in FC United's ground in North Manchester on this Thursday. If you can't get down there, you can donate, you can help out. You can even buy a ticket if you want and just sort of donate it. That would be appreciated. There's a link in the chat. I know times are hard, but it is for a great cause. They do so much good work at the Booth Centre. It's 30 years they've been helping homeless across Manchester and even a little bit further as well. And I do appreciate it. I took part in it last year. I didn't take part in the football. I was commentating, and it was great to see the people there enjoying themselves, playing a football match, and yeah, getting a chance to play on FC United's pitch as well. And it was just, yeah, it was just heartwarming. So if you can help out, I really do appreciate it, because homelessness is a big issue here in Manchester and beyond as well. And these guys need all the help they can get. And if you can do a little bit, which is what I try and do, then that is much appreciated. Should we talk about some transfers? Where's this from? Sorry, Football Insider. It says it right there in front of me. Forgive me. Man United have emerged from the pack in the race to sign Bournemouth star Antoine Semenyo this summer. Sources have told Football Insider. Have they though? Yeah. Have they? Have they really? Yeah? Okay. It is believed Ruben Amorim's side are now in pole position to land Semenyo 25 this summer. Is he the one that has loads of shots? Yeah. How many shots has he had?
Well, when we last checked, it was like 125 or like 60 above.
Right, he's had 100. Last time we checked, because we like to keep a track on how many shots Semenyo's had, it was 125, which was 60 above Brian and Mbeumo. That feels like Alejandro Garnacho numbers, that, doesn't it? It feels like you're shooting loads. And you better be scoring loads if you're going to be shooting loads. Not sure about this one. Not to doubt the, the venerable outlet that is Football Insider, but I don't know if we're going to get him, to be honest with you. And I don't know if I want him. Yes, right. This is the thing here. You look at our team. We're in this stage now, aren't we, where we go, but Jay's better than what we've got. I understand that. And I think you could literally chuck a stone out your window and hit someone that's probably better than what we've got. But we need to be thinking about how much money we've got to spend, but make sure we get value for money with the money we do spend, and how much better than what we've got are some of these players we're going after. It's not just enough to be better than what we've got. If you've got someone that scored 6 Premier League goals, that's probably better than what we've got, but is that good enough to really move us forward to where we want to be? I'm not talking about moving from 17th or 16th to 12th. I mean, getting into that top 6, which I think is the target for next season. Sad to say how far we done fell, but that's where we're at. Let's talk about Antony. Got a story here. According to Football España, Real Betis are keen on keeping the Brazilian winger at the club. Do you reckon? It remains to be seen if they will be able to afford Antony this summer for a permanent transfer, since that is what Man United prefer at the moment. We've got to be able to sell Antony. Jesus, the guy's been absolutely smashing it at Real Betis. I know he had that one red card, but other than that, he just keeps getting goals and assists and Player of the Match awards. Surely someone's got to fancy him. Gareth Thompson says, loving that T-shirt. Jay Ridwan says, bucket list, Antony to score versus Chelsea in the final. Yeah, they've got the Europa League final, Europa Conference final. Forgive me, they wish they were in the Europa League final. They've got the Europa Conference final and the Real Betis versus Chelsea. That'll be good to see. Hopefully Antony can do the business there. It says here as well, Diego Simeone's side are looking at him, so Atletico Madrid are in the race to sign him as well. They're looking at Garnacho and at Antony. Also, Juve could be in the hunt for him. I think there might be a few clubs in there. He's got 8 goals and 5 assists for Real Betis since joining the club a few months ago, which is good going, isn't it? Really. I mean, he's certainly done much better than I thought he would. I worried about him. I thought when you look watching him, because I had a bit of patience with him, I thought maybe I'm being harsh. There's a player there, but every time I'd watched him and think, yeah, maybe there's something there, he just wouldn't show me anything, and then I lost patience with him. ERL says, has Højlund been worse than Weghorst? Goals wise, he's not, and I think the difference with Weghorst and Højlund obviously is Weghorst had that one season. As a club, we were successful. We finished 3rd and won the the Carabao Cup and got to an FA Cup final. But as an individual, I think he scored 2 goals, 1 against Real Betis, won it in the Europa League. I think it was the 4th in a 4-1 win, where he celebrated like I'd celebrate if I scored for Manchester United, to be fair to the lad. And I think the other one was at Nottingham Forest in the first leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So he scored a couple, which just wasn't quite the levels we needed, but Marcus Rashford scored loads of goals and Weghorst helped him in that endeavour. Is he better or worse than Højlund? I think Højlund's a better player. Højlund at the minute, though, it's just not happening for him. I'd love to not get into the Højlund thing. I did it yesterday. It is a concern, and it's a growing theme. I just don't want to keep going on and on and on about Rasmus Højlund and the sort of difficulties he's having. Glenn F says, do you see us winning on Wednesday, not tomorrow? I'm a bit concerned with Euro and De Ligt out. I do see us winning against Spurs, but what do I know? Brian Casey, who's been a member of the academy for 27 months, says, if we get the recruitment right and Amorim has a full pre-season, I fully believe we will be pushing for top 6 next season. Maybe I'm delusional. I agree. Rob15 says the 3-4-3 formation is a problem and that is Amorim's fault. As long as he continues to play it, then he deserves sacked. or deserves to be sacked, I think that should say. Conte played it at Chelsea and it was boring football as well. Conte won the title with it though, didn't he? I think, right, with this 3-4-3 or this 3-4-2-1, by now the players should be used to it. You've had, what, 7 months of it? You should be used to it by now. There's no excuse for me. You can't keep blaming the formation on some of the performances we're seeing. You've had enough time to get used to it. And also, even if it's not your preferred formation, even if you would rather we played 4-3-3, right, you should be able to do better than winning 6 games in the Premier League with this formation, yeah? That isn't good enough, and you can't keep blaming a formation. He's not asking you to play volleyball or to play a sport that's completely alien to you. He's asking you to play football in a formation that is relatively similar to what you have played before. And also, I've watched us a few times. When we're in possession, we're almost in a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 at times. So let's not kid ourselves that this formation is so rigid and it's so difficult to get your head round that it excuses everything we've seen at Manchester United, because it doesn't. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. This is from Man United News. Well, where else are you going to get your news from? It says Turkish giants Galatasaray are monitoring one of Manchester United's outcasts ahead of the summer transfer window, according to Haber Sade Kermize. The Red Devils are preparing a busy summer. There could be multiple players heading for the exit door, even if the club qualify for the Champions League. Rashford, Malacia, Antony, Sancho are among players on loan, and the quartet could be sold permanently. And then it goes on to say Chelsea have an obligation to buy Sancho, but the Mirror have revealed that the Blues are set to cancel the agreement by paying a $5 million penalty fee. I think that's old news. That I don't think they will. We'll have to wait and see. And then it's basically saying that Sancho could end up going to Galatasaray. I'm not so sure about this one. I think Chelsea will end up buying him. I do. I think it's a rocky road, that, for Chelsea. There's several reasons why I think paying this fine for not signing Jadon Sancho might be a terrible move for Chelsea. For starters, you ain't getting anything for your £5 million. There's no value in that for you. You're not getting any positives from it. You're not getting a play. You're not getting anything. It's just, it's just a complete loss. Secondly, I know Jadon Sancho hasn't set the world alight, but he has got some goals and assists at Stamford Bridge. He's still a decent player on his day. Maresca seems to like him. He's played a lot of games. Now, you might argue Maresca's not going to be there much longer. I don't know what's going to happen. But Jadon Sancho is still a player that on his day can produce, and the manager seems to like him. Also, as well, what sort of message does that send out to other players? What sort of message does that send out to other clubs when doing business with Chelsea? If you go, okay, we're going to loan you this player with an obligation to buy, but you've got a history or reputation for not abiding to those obligations and just paying the fine instead. I don't know. I think it might be completely counterproductive for them to do that, and they might just be better signing Jadon Sancho. Andy G says Maresca seems to like him. Hopefully, we will push for him. Santos Flo says, what did Sancho do to Man United? You got to remember that he didn't play well enough, did he? He came from Dortmund with this big reputation. He had some decent games. I think the game away at Chelsea, his first game away at Chelsea was decent. His second one was a disaster. I think the game at the Etihad, I think the game at home to Liverpool, there were some good moments. Leeds as well, I think he had a very good game against them, but by and large, it wasn't good enough. Make sure you're hitting that like button, please, people. Let's talk about Mateta. Yeah, this is from Scott Trotter. Rodney Trotter says Ruben Amorim gets major transfer boost as club drop hint over 40 million Man United target. This is shoehorning at the highest level, isn't it? Keep going. Let's have a look at this. So Crystal Palace are lining up a move for Strasbourg striker Emmanuel Omega as they prepare for the potential sale of Jean-Phillipe Mateta being sold this summer. The Eagles forward has been linked with a transfer to United amid the struggles of the Red Devils' failing forward line. So it's basically saying Palace are trying to bring in this Dutch forward Omega, which will clear the way for them to sell Mateta, who could end up coming to Manchester United. Lots and lots of ifs and buts and maybes on that one. I don't see Mateta coming to Manchester United this summer. I'll be honest with you. You might, I don't. It says here that the Palace are willing to spend big if they find themselves in the position of needing to replace their star forward. Mateta has 2 years remaining on his contract and could be tempted to depart if Champions League football is on offer. This might be the time to sell him for Palace. He's had, 2 good seasons now? He's got 2 years left on his deal, so that means you can usually get the sort of optimum amount of money for him. Because if you wait a bit longer, then people will go, well, okay, if it's, he's got 1 year left, they'll go, well, we may as well just see this out and wait a year and get him for free. Mateta's a decent player, obviously did very well against us. I'm not that enthused. I think he's had 2 good seasons. Before that, he was all right. Not for me. And again, you go back to this argument. He's better than what we've got, Jay. Nearly any striker at the minute is doing better than what we've got. I'm not being harsh. I'm being honest. Look at the numbers. Look at the stats. Look at the performances. Almost any Premier League striker is doing better than what we've got. But should we go out and buy all of them? No. Which ones should we buy? For me, not Jean-Phillipe Mateta. Let me know what you think. Heaven Soul makes a great point. Everyone does well against us. That is true. They do, don't they? If you're struggling, play United. That's the key in it. You know what I mean? You've hit a bad bit of form, play Manchester United, and that will turn it around for you, like we did for West Ham at the weekend. I'm going to leave it there. There's a link in the chat, the pinned link, for that charity game at the Booth Centre. If you can't get down to North Manchester on Thursday, buy a ticket anyway. You can always donate it. It's for a great cause to help the homeless in Manchester. We're going to be back later on as well. Got loads of content coming up. Got Laurie Whitwell. He's going to be here for Inside United, so we're going to get in the latest scoops from him. Deadbug UK in the super chat says, this squad hides behind the system, hides behind the manager, and hides behind Bruno. Ralph said it, he was spot on. Heart surgery needed. We've needed it for years, and we've had it. Since Ralph Ragnick said that, we've made about 20 transfers, but I get your point. Yeah, we're going to be back with Laurie Whitwell later on today. Plus, we're going to be hearing from Adam McCullough, from Stephen Howson. So we've got all the usual suspects on the channel. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motti. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.